I think we have quite a few people who've logged in already.
Great.
Good evening to all. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on which part of the world you are logged in from. Thank you so much for being a part of Aalaap's Sustenance series, Sustenance of Self and Society. And we're extremely excited to have this conversation with the amazingly gorgeous, amazingly graceful Vidya Singh. Honestly, about a couple of weeks ago, when we were curating the series, I reached out to Vidya. And just about 4 days ago, when we thought of an interesting title for this, my colleague and I came up with Spirit of the Living and really celebrating existential grace. And I think nobody epitomizes that more than Vidya Singh. I'm sure all of you who logged in will agree. In the truest sense of the words, Vidya is all about grace and beauty. And just as it has been like my most favorite thing to do is to pull out a quote every time I kind of introduce somebody. And it's almost like the universe is always sending me the right quote for the right person. So today when I searched for something on grace and beauty, the first quote was, respect yourself. If you don't, others won't either. Remember, the world sees what you put out there. So hold yourself to a high standard of grace and elegance. For those who don't know Vidya Singh, I'm going to take just a moment to formally introduce her to all of you. Vidya Singh was born into the erstwhile princely state of Vijayanagaram in Andhra Pradesh. She was educated at the Presentation Convent Church Park and later at Stella Maris College, where she obtained a bachelor's degree in English literature. She's been the president of the International Women's Association, a Rotarian, as well as a committee member of FLOW Chennai. She was also the president of the Sustenance International, a charitable organization. And I've had the privilege of writing so many news you can use for the Madras Plus of all the events that the Sustenance would organize. She's also a fitness enthusiast, a very, very fine travel blogger. And I've been reading a lot of her travel blogs during this lockdown. And she also runs a very successful wedding planning company called Samyog with her colleague Rekha Rangaraj, who I suppose is also watching. Hello, Rekha. So we're going to be talking about a whole host of things that cover a range of ideas that celebrate the spirit of living from, through the lens of Vidya. So thank you, Vidya, firstly, for, agreeing to come on board and share your stories with us.
Thank you, Akhila, first of all, for that wonderful introduction that you gave of me. I hope I can live up to all the wonderful things that you said. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me on the show, and I think it's wonderful. I love the subject. The minute you asked me, I thought, oh my God, this is something will be of interest to anyone who listens in.
Thank you. So I'm going to jump straight in, Vidya, and let's firstly start about, you live by yourself. And I want you to talk a little bit about what is it like to sort of be on your own, and what have been your key takeaways from this lockdown?
Living alone is actually, if someone like me, I'm very self-contained and I don't need too much of outside people. I'm actually very happy living alone. I love my children coming. I love having guests over, but my life is pretty much my own. The only downside of it is it tends to make you a little selfish, because you only have to think of yourself every single day and do things for yourself and plan your life around. So a lot of people who live with elders, parents or in-laws or something, you are forced to think about so many other children. My children are grown up, so they have their own lives. So I hope they think of me.
I'm sure they are. Vidya, what have been your key takeaways from this lockdown, really?
I'm always get surprised when people say they're depressed, they're all sorts of, stuff they're talking about. I've actually had a very nice lockdown. I'm first of all grateful that we are in a position where we have a beautiful home. I have a girl who lives with me, who takes care of me. And you can look at so many people outside who have so little and who are surviving. I have nothing to complain about. And these 4 months, I kept myself very, very busy. I've looked after things, looked at things. I've written a couple of books which we printed, one on my Ladakh trip, one on a bicycling trip. I've got a set of articles ready to make a fitness book. And more important, the one thing that's giving me a lot of fun, which my daughter Health is my little travel blog. So
Lovely.
I'm really enjoying. So actually, it's been a very busy 4 months. We've not
Productive.
had any work. Our Samyog has not had any work because of the lockdown, and we've not had any events to work on. That's a little bit of a concern. Not so much for ourselves, but for all the people who work for us. We have hosts of people, vendors, flowers and this and that, and setups and stickers. All of them are out of work. So that is a big concern. But for myself, I've had a very good lockdown. I've exercised every day. I've, kept myself busy morning to night.
Lovely. So gratitude and productivity have been probably
absolutely
key. Lovely.
Gratitude.
Yeah,
and
I think
that Corona doesn't affect me, my children, my mother, or any of our immediate families. Thank God, till today we've been safe. So that extreme gratitude for that.
Yeah, I think all of us are really every day, every single day, really counting our blessings, right?
Absolutely.
Because relatively speaking, we're in such a better place, right?
Also, think of keeping yourself positive. Think positively. Don't look at, oh, I don't have this, oh, I'm stuck in the house. Or, no, just be positive in whatever you do. So I think that's definitely my take on this.
Right. Vidya, I'm going to ask you, as a continuation of what you spoke about, are you a spiritually sort of inclined person? Like, what is your connection with spirituality?
Definitely, I'm not a ritualistic person at all. I grew up with parents who didn't believe so much in ritual. I go to Tirupati every year. Make sure I climb every year that I go. I only climb the hill. That gives me a great feeling that I can do that. But I'm not someone who goes to a temple every week. Of course, I light a lamp in the morning after I have my bath and say a little prayer. But beyond that, I believe in spirituality. I believe in a dharmic way of living, definitely. And I feel that's far more important than the little rituals that people sort of get bogged down into. And I've always studied Vedanta under Swami Paramatmananda. I've been a student for over 25 years. And my father was like that. My father, Vishi, again, he used to come to Tirupati and wouldn't enter the temple. He would sit in the gardens with his Bhagavad Gita and study the Gita. He said, I don't need to go into the temple. God knows, God is within me. So I think we took a lot of lessons from that. We have a family in Vijayanagaram, the Simhachalam temple, which we loved. My sister and I love to go to once a year because that's our temple. So that's something that we have been doing over the years. This year, because of the lockdown, we could not go. But these are, and any temple. I mean, I would say I'm probably one of the most secular people because I pray everywhere. I've gone to the Dargah in Ajmer. There's a beautiful Dargah in the Raj Bhavan right here in Madras, which Rekha and I have been going there for the last several years. And we go on a Thursday. It's open only one day a week, and it's a beautiful set in the woods. And if I'm traveling and I see a church, definitely I will sit down and say a prayer. So I mean, it's Buddhist temples. When we are trekking in Bhutan, we pray at kneel down and pray at a Buddhist temple. So I believe in divinity. I think there's a divine power. All of this and all of us didn't happen purely by chance. There is a divine power. I believe in that, but definitely not in any organized sort of a fundamentalist type of religion at all.
Right. Fantastic. Vidya, I'm going to talk to you about, I've often heard you use this word mindful. Like every time I've bumped into you, we've spoken, exchanged, had some conversations. You use this word mindful. And I've always been intrigued. And I actually have known you now since I started my career like into 2000 at Madras Plus. And I remember you'd write a blog for us, a column for us for Madras Plus every Thursday. Yes. And I remember interacting with you from then. And really, I forgot to say this, but like, you just look exactly the same. That's like impossible. Like how is that even possible?
Being very, very kind. I think everything is hidden there everywhere. But
no, but talk to us about mindful living. Mindful living.
To me, mindful living is how you live your life completely engaged in anything you do. And you have your entire awareness has to be what you could be reading a book. You could be studying a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You could be cooking. You could, not me. I can't cook at all, and I hate cooking. But you could be doing exercising. You could be trekking. You could be bicycling. whatever you do, your entire being has to be engaged in what you do. I think for me, that is mindful living. And that's what will give you the most satisfaction out of what you do. Like when Rekha and I do our wedding work for 2 or 3 days, we're completely involved in only that. We are thinking, eating, breathing, sleeping, not sleeping, only weddings.
Yeah.
So that whatever work we're doing. So I think that is being mindful. Because that's what's going to give you the most pleasure of what you do and the benefit.
Right. And Vidya, that's like literally like being in the now, right? And enjoying what you do.
Absolutely, being in the now.
Yeah. But did that come to you? Like, is it something that you've learned along the way, or have you always been like that?
I think a lot of it you do learn along the way, but I think I can remember always being sort of very consistent in what I do, in all my thoughts and my whatever I'm doing. I'm pretty good. I don't change very easily. I'm an outspoken person. If I think something, I'll say it. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. So, all of those, I think it just evolved over a period of time. And I mean, I'm not young, I'm 66 years old. And over the years, you do make mistakes, you do learn from them, and you pick yourself up and get on with it. But I think that's the mindful part of my life.
Definitely. Right. Vidya, this series is called Sustenance. Yes. And I'm going to ask you, like, do you believe that sustenance is a constant work in progress? It's not something just,
Absolutely. Whatever you're doing at that point in time, you have to sustain it. And how do you sustain a consistent lifestyle?
Right.
Only through health and fitness. These are the only two things, and maybe a bit of spirituality thrown in there, for good measure, to make you complete. But otherwise, you have to sustain yourself, and nobody is going to do that for you. You have to be able to do it for yourself. It's something that you owe to yourself. So my basic thing is, it's not something where do I really need to eat right and exercise every day? Yes, that's what you have to do. And everything else will fall into place. If your health is good, your mind is clear. There's a connection between the body and the mind. There's no doubt about it. I mean, everyone knows that. And that can only come from health and well-being. So well-being is a large part of what I try to bring into my life and the way I like to lead my life. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm vegetarian, all of those things.
I was actually going to ask you about your diet, Vidya. Talk to us about that.
These are not great virtues, but I'm not saying that it's bad to drink or smoke or eat meat or anything, but this is the way I have lived a life of great simplicity. And I think we learned that from my father. He may have been a prince from a royal family and all of that, but in his lifestyle, he was very, very simple. And he brought us up like that. We had everything, but he taught us to just accept it as something that's you're fortunate to be there. Like we are fortunate to be born, my sister and I, into the kind of family that we were. And how do you okay, we are from a royal family, okay, we're both princesses, but that's not all of you. That's part of you. You have to be proud of your heritage and your lineage. But beyond that, that's not going to get you anything in life. That it's what you are as a person, how you can present yourself, how kind you can be to people, and with what kind of grace do you lead your life. It's that humility. My father, I think, always taught us that and believed in that himself. A certain humility in life.
Right, Vidya, there's also like a quality of minimalism, right? Like I've also even in the food. And I remember you talking to us about how your father kind of raised you to sort of eat a particular diet. I want you to kind of go back and share some really interesting stories with us from your childhood, perhaps. Yeah.
It's a very interesting background that we had because I was born in 1953. And my father at that time, until 1953, he was like a normal young prince from a royal family. Smoking, drinking, gambling, going horse racing, and shooting and hunting. This was what they all did. You can't find fault in that because that was their background. That's what they did. But in 1953, before 1953, he met a gentleman in the US called Dr. Shelton. And he was a nature cure person and a natural hygienist. So my father became deeply influenced by him. And came back to India and completely did a 90-degree turn, 180-degree or 360-degree turn in his life, and gave up all of those things that he did, which were not good for a lifestyle. And he turned vegetarian. He brought us up to eat nuts and fruit and raw vegetables and milk. And, like we drank goat's milk for milk, cow milk was yogurt. It was a very extraordinary life. And a lot of, in those days, people used to make fun of him, saying Vishy is a crazy fellow, he's torturing his family. But actually not realizing that everything he believed in those days is entirely mainstream today.
Yeah.
Whether we had no salt in our diet, absolutely not a pinch of salt. Today people are saying how bad salt is for you. No white sugar.
You didn't eat salt until
not a pinch of salt till we got married. Or if, as we grew up, maybe 18, 19, we started going to people's houses, and there were no restaurants. There was no restaurant going. Woody's Drive-In was the height of out in those days.
Wow.
So we just ate, and even when we were in school or college, my sister and I would go home for lunch because we couldn't get a tiffin carrier. Our food was so strange and different. So there was no traffic, so we could drive home and drive back. But that's the kind of life we led, and everything in our household was geared around this. And my mother said it really cute and sweet incident. She said when my father decided, like, from tomorrow morning the whole lifestyle is changing. She was vegetarian anyway, and she was very happy to go along with him and support him. But she loved coffee, so she made herself a cup of coffee, her last cup of coffee. Then she put it on the table and forgot about it. So she never drank coffee after that for next 20 odd years, 25 years or something, till my father passed away. And then the only thing she started doing was drinking coffee after that.
Oh my God, that's some. Yeah, but also this is also a story of of great. I mean, all these words that we're talking about now, but consistency, commitment, great determination, willpower, and you seem to have sort of followed all these rules that now, like, fitness gyms are like, coaches are talking about consistency, commitment, sticking with habits and stuff. And you seem to have. Didn't you girls rebel?
Not at all. I think we just enjoyed all of it so much. Like, from when we were small children, my father had a frame with a rope, and both of us used to climb up and down the rope like monkeys. We had parallel bars, we had a swimming pool. So we were both very good swimmers from when we were little children. We had a trampoline in the house, and we used to both jump on the trampoline, do, back flips and all sorts of things. So our whole lifestyle was to do with fitness and healthy eating. That
was my next question. So was exercise an important part of your growing up?
Very important. Well, that was what the focus was. Of course, my parents did say, go to school, you must study hard, you must do very well. But okay, do all that, but definitely go play tennis, go for a run, go horse riding, swim, do all those things also. So it was much more wholesome rather than concentrating just on the studies or something. I'm sure we didn't do badly in school. I mean, I was not a topper, but my parents didn't bother too much about that. But I did okay in school. I was fine.
Right. Yeah. So also like a very liberal household, right?
Very liberal as far as thinking is concerned. I think we were exposed to a lot. We had, in fact, Rukmini Devi was my father was very, very close to her. So we grew up very much in her. We used to go there on Sundays to spend time at the Theosophical Society with her. Norma and Yagneshwar Shastri were also there, part of our growing up years. And the other cute thing I have to tell you, while thinking about it and talking about the swimming pool that we had at home, I remember very well when we were children, my Swami Chinmayananda was very close to my father. And whenever he came to Madras, he used to come to swim in our pool. So I have such a clear memory of him wearing little shorts and with this long beard, diving into the pool and swimming up and down.
So cute.
That was
wow.
He had a great exposure. He would take us to Chinmay Swami's lectures. And we had a Sanskrit master who would come at 6 a.m. every morning, and we'd read a chapter, I think chapter 13 or something of the Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
I did do some Bharti Vidya Bhavan exams under that Sanskrit master. And in college, of course, I took Sanskrit. So we read all Kalidasa's Malavikagnimitram, Kumara Sambhavam, and all of those we read. So I think that was completely influenced by the parents, for sure.
Right. Vidya, also, I know that you're also a connoisseur of the arts. Like, I do know that you've been following all the work that Aalaap has been doing, giving me so much feedback.
Yes.
So and you also have many friends who are dancers,
Yes.
right? So talk to us about, the role that the arts and culture played in your household. Like, was your father a big patron of the
Very
arts?
much.
And,
Yes. I think my father loved dance, music. He used to have a loudspeaker in his bathroom where he would play opera. He loved the opera. He loved ballet. So whenever we were traveling, he would take us to see the ballet, like a Swan Lake or something, take us to music concerts. And we were all the time in Kalakshetra for all Rukmini Devi's performances. And in fact, Mr. and Mrs. Dhananjay, when they met me years later, told me that we remember you and your sisters, two little girls sitting on the floor with all the other dancers at all the performances. So I think we had a great exposure. It was a very privileged way to live because we were exposed to so much of art and culture. And so I think that helped us in a big way and has stayed with us. And people like Alarmail Valli, very dear friend from Meenakshi Chittaranjan, from our childhood, actually our families were friends. And of course, Malvika Saruka, I'm a big fan of hers. So, in fact, my mother and her mother went to college together. Queen Mary's. So, and I think the wonderful thing of living in Madras, Akhila, is
time especially.
Any time is that for all of us who grew up here, were born here and grew up here, there's a certain continuity in our lives. Our relationships have not gone anywhere. Our friendships are the same. Our relationships are the same. And our life has been somewhat the same. All of this, even though 50, 60 years have gone by, I think that's a great comfort factor to have that sort of continuity going through your lives.
But Vidya, why would you say that it's peculiar to Chennai, to Madras?
Because I feel in other cities, people do tend to move around a lot.
Okay.
I'm not saying people in Madras don't, like my children went off to live in Bombay. But having said that, maybe up to my generation, most of us stayed here. Some of our friends went off abroad, studied there, got married and lived there. But for all of us, it's extraordinary. Not many people can say that. I have friends like Anita Ratnam, Bablu Thomas, and so many of our friends who we've been together since kindergarten. Miss Isaac's class in kindergarten in Church Park. So it's over 60 years of friendship. I mean, that's a lot to value.
Absolutely.
I mean, this happens in Madras. I think a lot of people can say the same thing. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, Vidya, I'm going to ask you, since you talk about friends, in fact, our next episode on as part of the Sustenance series is celebrating the power of positivity, female friendships. So I'm going to ask you, like, you have so many these girlfriends. Talk to me about how they've played an important role through your life, and why do you think women must elevate and uplift each other? And what have been some of the key, moments in your life when your girlfriends have really stood by you and have shown you the mirror in some sense?
I think that's one of the most important aspects of relationships is your friends. And I don't think, especially girlfriends. And I really treasure and value all my friends. I have groups of friends who are friends with me from different aspects of my life, whether it's trekking friends or whether it's, my school friends, whether it's my cousins who are my friends. We've all sort of, it's a huge sort of a support system that you have. And there's no question any of us are down and out for anything. Of course, we're all there. We're all there. We may not physically do something, but we are there for moral support. You pick up the phone, you're down and out, you can talk to somebody. I think it's such an important thing. I have friends in Bombay, friends in Delhi, people who are dear, dear friends overseas in so many places. I value and cherish all the friendships. And I think that's very important.
Right. Yeah. Vidya, talk to me a little bit about, I want to move a little bit about your, I also know that you're a big, you love traveling.
Yes.
Right. I want to talk to you about when when the travel bug bit you, and then I want to also talk a little bit about the importance of the role of beauty and aesthetics, because you're always so just beautifully turned out. But before that, we talk about travel, Vidya.
I think for anyone, I think travel enriches you. whoever it is, wherever you travel. It doesn't have to be exotic destinations anywhere, but even within India. I travel so much with my cousin Sharan Apparao's group. She has a group and she takes a historian. And we've traveled to the most amazing places over the last few years within India. And we learn so much of history. So
Did you travel a lot as a child as well with your parents?
As a child, it was more Bangalore and Ooty where we had homes. So that was the thing. But as we grew up teenagers, we started traveling overseas with my parents. And that also was a great eye-opener for us. I think exposure and eye-opener. And then later years, it became with my children, the usual Disney World, Disneyland, nothing soul-stirring kind of travel. But I think that kind of traveling came a little later, going to really experiential travel, which is what we are looking for now. And I think two things which have, for me, made me what I'm today. One is a wonderful trip I did with my children, with my two children for my 60th birthday. And they told me, Mom, no birthday parties and all for you. Let's just go on a holiday. So I left it to them. And we ended up in Tuscany, in Italy. And we did a 10-day bicycling trip. The whole trip was on bicycles. It was the most amazing experience. I mean, I wish everyone would go and do it. Everyone who can bicycle, of course, and could go and do it. It was not easy because Tuscany is full of hills, low hills, higher hills. So every day we had breakfast and got on the bicycles and went to the next town. It was the most, Tuscany is probably the most beautiful part of Italy. It's quintessential Italy. It has everything that you want. So, and my birthday was in Florence. So that the birthday day. So that was a memory that has stayed in my mind. I wrote a book about it during the lockdown, actually, and it's come out very beautiful. And the other, I think, all other trips kind of fall into place. The other thing that has given me a great joy and pleasure is trekking. Again, my first trek was with T.M. Krishna and Badri Vijayanagaram. Now, these two, I had never trekked before, ever. So,
and where was this? This was to Ladakh?
We went to Ladakh. And we were trekking for 2.5 weeks in Zanskar and the Marka Valley. And we reached the base camp of Stoke Kamri. And the boys were going to climb the summit. So when they asked me, I didn't hesitate for a moment. I'm like, yeah, I'll come with you. So I just went off with these two chaps. I had no idea what to expect. Sleeping in a tent, no bath for 14 days. It was something extraordinary. But fortunately, I'm pretty fit. So I was able to do the climbing with a fair amount of ease. Little difficult in here and there. But it was an unbelievable experience. And that was my second book that I did through the lockdown.
Right.
And I have a lovely group of trekking friends that I trek with every year. And we've done the most amazing places. Bhutan, we've done Annapurna Circuit, we've done Everest Base Camp, Rupin Pass in Uttarakhand. So, I mean, really beautiful, beautiful treks. So,
Vidya, often when I talk to people, I haven't actually ever, gone trekking. And after reading your travel blogs, and I remember interviewing T.M. Krishna for the National Geographic India as well on his trip to Ladakh. And he talked to me about how being in the mountains or going to the mountains is a transformative sort of experience. Could you talk to us a little bit about, why people say that and how it can be really a life-changing sort of experience in that sense?
To me, Akhila, that was the most life-changing experience, going with the two boys and trekking in those mountains for the first time. Something happens to you in those mountains. You get, people ask you, why are you doing this? It's so hard, the climbing, the altitudes are so high, and why do you put yourself out there to go beyond your capabilities to do this? But it's something that is awe-inspiring when you're there. You feel a sense, this is divinity out there in the middle of these magnificent mountains. You look around and you think you're such an insignificant speck in the larger escape of life, in the larger life of life, and it humbles you. And I think for me, I'm totally addicted to trekking, and even while we're halfway through a trek, we're already planning the next trek. So
lovely.
It's something unbelievable, the feeling that when you're out there.
Yeah. Also endurance, right, Vidya?
Tremendous endurance, because it's always mind over matter. However fit you may be, sometimes we're climbing for 7-8 hours, 11 hours sometimes, very high mountains, air is very rarefied. So sometimes you're walking at a very, very slow. It's not like you're striding along at high speed on those mountains.
Yeah.
You're walking very, very slow. Sometimes we count 10 steps and stop to take 5 breaths, then walk another 10 steps. So it's very tough going. And definitely it's a mind over matter, because you have to have a strong mind that will just keep you going. But it's the rewards are so much. You need to be fit, no doubt.
For sure,
Basic level of fitness. You have to be able to climb. You have to be able to endure walking for 8 to 10 hours. So, and to be able to live very rough, because except in Nepal, all over India, we are in tents. So very basic tents, and the toilet is a hole in the ground with a zippered tent around it.
Wow.
So you have to learn
you have to be able to rough it out, right?
You have to be able to rough it out to a certain extent.
Yeah. Vidya, do you like to travel by yourself, or do you like a company, or have you done like solo trips as well?
I'm not a solo person. I need people around me. I cannot travel solo. First of all, I would be a little nervous to go by myself anywhere. Strange. But I like to go with people. I love traveling. I would travel every month if I had a chance to go somewhere or the other. And definitely not alone. I like to go in a group of people.
Okay, so let me ask you, like, when we're actually, this virus is like a thing of the past and we all are mask free and we can actually travel, which is the one place that you'd like to, like, you'd really like to go to?
You know, my daughter started a little company called Girl with the Backpack.
Of course, I know that.
And she started taking tours to South America. And last year we did Peru and Bolivia. It's the most amazing countries. I think I've fallen in love with South America. I just want to I feel I need to go back there again. And in March we had a trip planned for Chile and Patagonia.
That's right.
With some trekking. And I'm so sad that we could not go. We're putting it on hold till next year. But I think that's a destination where I'm going to keep going often.
Right. What's the vibe like, Vidya? What's the vibe in South America?
It's wonderful. It's clean. It's green. It's beautiful. Fabulous food. Friendly people. I mean, it's exotic. And those forests and those mountains and the rivers, the Amazon River, it's beyond what we can imagine. It's clean also. Very, very clean. So it is lovely. The other place I love to go to every year is I love London. It's always been close to my heart. I would, given a choice, I would go twice a year, but I try to go at least once a year. And my friends in London always laugh at me because I'm waiting to go to bed at night so I can get up in the morning and walk in one of the parks. So that's my main activity when I go to London.
Right, lovely. Vidya, it's lovely that you've also been chronicling your experiences, right? Why do you think it's important, to actually document these? Because sometimes, I know that one didn't find the time before the lockdown. You told me that you didn't find the time. Somehow life was busy. And it's great that you found the time to actually document it, right? And I want to ask you about why it's important to, to kind of put these experiences down where somebody many years later is able to read them. Why do you think?
It's not that I created the books during these 2 books during the lockdown, but the last 7-8 years I've been writing I write a journal every day, every evening. Either on the trek or on the travel, even with my children when I was traveling. So I write a journal of that day, where we went, what altitude we climbed. And
only when you travel. Only when I'm
traveling. Okay. And then the experience of that day, including food we ate and what did we see when you climbed this mountain and went to the next side. What did you see?
Wow.
If you don't write it down, Akila, photographs are there. But they don't do any justice, because in a couple of months, in fact, by day 5 of the trek, you've forgotten what you did on day 1 or day 2. So unless you document it, it's impossible to remember so much, or to remember with so much clarity. Now, if I look at my books and open the book, I know exactly what we did on that day.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's really Vidya, it's one thing about, I often think about, what you said about how your father raised you, and there was a certain discipline in the way you lived your life.
Yes.
And do you think that because this is a series on sustenance, I'm going to ask you a question about the importance of sticking with habits. I often start off a habit and then I fall off the course because, either life comes in the way or there's some circumstance that changing. Why is it important, you believe, that one is to stick with a habit, 2, how does one kind of do that? Number three, why is it important to also start inculcating habits early on in life?
I think that is a very good question, Akila, because that's what gives you a certain what is it called, a stability to your life,
Right.
complete stability. Because if you
Right.
can sustain that, whatever you're doing, doing it well, like we said earlier, whatever you do, it mindfully do it. Whether you exercise, what your day is going to be like. I'm an early riser. I like to exercise sometimes once a day, twice a day, and I do a variety of exercise. So all of this is discipline, and I think this was taught to us by our parents when we were growing up, because that's what our every day of our life was. You had your exercise, you had your studies, you had school or college, you came back, you went again for another exercise, you had your dinner early, and you ate that kind of food. So you learn to live with all of that. So, and to be able to sustain that kind of a life, and I think that's what's going to give you a certain, again, I would use the continuity in the quality of your life.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very important.
Right. Vidya, like I'm sure you've had your share of challenges, right, along the way.
Oh, yes.
And many, I suppose. How have you bounced back? And why do you think it's important to kind of tune your mind to kind of be able to, wake up, dress up, and really move forward, really?
Shit happens to everyone. I'm not the only one. And I remember my mother, when 2 times in my life when I was at a very low period, I remember her telling me, you look around and see others are much worse than you. Stop it. You've got so much more, in spite of whatever's happened, you've got so much more to look forward to.
Right.
But I have to tell you that I did go through, the second time this happened in 2010, when I went through a very, very bad period, very bad patch. I went into what they call depression. I was completely traumatized, could not even exercise. And one particular day, I remember going to Nilgiris, and I became traumatized because I felt the sound was going around and round and going into my head. So I just dropped everything there, went home, and I called my friend Mariam Ram, and I said, she's a very dear friend, and I said, Mariam, do something. I think I'm going crazy. So she just came within 10 minutes. She was at my house, picked me up, and took me to see the Dr. Vijay and Vijayanagaram. And after he gave me a lot of help. I went to him for a couple of months, little medication, this, that. But I think with somebody holding your hand and pulling you through this, my mother I would call her every day. I had friends who would support me. I had very dear friends who supported me in so many ways and surrounded me with so much care, that I think that's the way to come out of. Everyone goes through downs. And like my son one day at that time turned to me and said, Mom, what are you crying for? What did we lose? It's only material things. Let it go. It's okay. We've got each other. We've got surrounded by people who care for us. People respect us. And we have health. What more do we need? And I thought to myself, this wise young man, this is exactly what it is. That's what we have to be. There are things we have to be grateful for and forget everything else. So I think, and when you're down, put your head down and get on with it. That's what I feel. And then when you come out through it, you're through it.
Right. And I really appreciate you talking about this, because it's also during this time a lot of people are struggling with a lot of mental health issues, and mental health really, really needs, more people need to speak about it and share their stories, so it inspires other people to sort of not feel there shouldn't be any like stigma attached to it, and people need to, everybody goes through shit, like you rightly said.
There's no stigma at all. It's like catching a cold or a fever. I mean, you just got to come through it, that's all. And my belief is exercise helps all of this.
Right. Before I ask you about cycling, I'm going to ask you about the role your children have played in your life, and what role you have played in the way your father raised you. I'm not entirely sure you were able to, sort of...
I could not bring that kind of a lifestyle to them, because, he even believed in naturopathy, natural hygiene. My sister and I had no primary vaccinations. We did not have polio. This is in 1950s when everything was there. He just said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give these children anything. And we never had a single medicine till I was 20 years old. When I was 21 or 22, when I had pregnant with my first child, Viraj, I had my first tetanus shot. Till then, I'd not even had an aspirin. So that's the way that's the way we were brought up. So, and
Right.
we had measles, we had chicken pox, all the usual things. So, it goes. There's nothing, you don't need
Yeah.
medication.
But obviously, your children were not raised like vaccinated.
No, they were not, but very much like that, with exercise, with healthy eating, all of that. And I think I'm glad to say they have imbibed from watching my sister,
Right.
my mother, who at her age is still so fit, and she was an athlete in her days, both my parents. And so I think they've learned from that, and they're both incredible athletes, both of
I
them.
know.
They're both of them very,
Yeah,
very
both of
fit.
them.
And
Right.
Viraj does capoeira and so many other athletic forms. Vasundhara is a marathon runner. She's run several full marathons at a very good pace, and got some places, also placement in that, half marathons. And she does all kinds of exercise. So I'm proud to say that they both learned the right sort of skills to bring into their lives. And they both lead interesting lives. They're both doing interesting.
Yeah. And they're following their passion, right? So
they're absolutely following their passion.
Right.
So I think
Vidya, I'm going to ask you a little bit about, beauty and aesthetics. Existential grace is also about, like yesterday I had a really interesting conversation with Rekha Sudarshan, who's a psychologist and a childbirth educator. And she was telling me that even when she goes for her run at 4:45 a.m., she's like, I don't like to look shabby. So I ensure that my hair is absolutely fine. I'm like matching my t-shirt with my slacks. I'm like on top of the game.
Yes.
And that's really how you are as well. Yeah. So has this sort of disciplined lifestyle that you had also sort of this whole like aesthetics and beauty and grace, do they become part, like a way of life almost?
I think the aesthetics of grace is simplicity. So I think that's something that we have imbibed. And I love dressing well. I love wearing lovely clothes, but it's always slightly understated and not one of those OTT type of people. Of course, like your friend, I love to be well dressed. If I'm cycling, I like to wear nice cycling, a nice outfit. I was cycling this morning actually.
That's right.
I was out. We did a 50K bike ride this morning.
Wow.
But and if I'm walking or whatever exercise, the clothes have to be appropriate. I swim also a couple of times a week. I'm a good swimmer, so taken part in lots of swimming nationals and masters, of course, nationals and state championships, and enjoy that. I'm not hugely competitive, but I like to compete.
Right. Vidya, talk to us about cycling. When did you discover I see so many photographs of you cycling, and you told me this morning that you did a 50K.
Yes.
Wow. So, when did the cycling bug bite you?
Several years ago, my a dear friend who lives next door to me, Gayatri Rajam, she lives next door, and she started bicycling, got into bicycling. So I started going with her. We did little rounds. We used to go to IIT and cycle around and go to the beach and things. And then she got into it in a more serious way and started a little group called G3. G3, like Gayatri G3. So, so it was a girl cycling group. So she had about 100 people signed in, including me and the girls that I cycle with now. So we sort of have made a little group of our own. There are about 5, 6 of us, 7 of us. And we try to cycle at least 2 or 3 weekends in the month. And we try to do it.
Do you cycle like alternate days? Like what's your exercise schedule like?
On Sundays.
Okay.
Because we have to start very early in the morning, and you can't do it more than once a week. It throws you off the schedule.
Right.
But we try to complete a 50K every weekend. And I've done 200K bike rides, which I'm quite proud of.
Wow. So in Chennai?
Yes. Last November was one, and the previous year was one. That's once a year.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's fantastic.
A sport that I'm really enjoying. And I'm not cycling at great high speed. Some of the girls are much stronger and faster, and they go faster. We cycle, everyone keeps, there's no competition here. So we just keep our own pace, and we have stopping points. We meet at the stopping points and then go to the next point, things like that.
Right. Vidya, you probably have a bunch of friends like these who kind of come together. Like I have a bunch of friends that I go running with. Yes. And you kind of form these little groups that sort of inspire you every morning, right?
Absolutely.
Share with us some story that has been so inspiring for you. Like something that you have learned from someone, by being part of these small groups within larger groups in that sense?
I think what has given me a lot of joy is my little trekking group. We're about 8 of us, 8 or 9 of us girls. And I think the wonderful thing is when I joined their group, I didn't know any of them. And on our first trek to Rupin Pass, within a day, I was part of their group. I never imagined for a moment that I was not part of the group. They just warmly accepted me in, and we've just become such close friends, all of us, and have bonded together. And I cannot imagine trekking with anybody else. And it's a huge support group. So even when we are trekking, it's just wonderful to be with people who support you and will push you up a little bit more if you need a push, and all of that. So I think that these friendships, maybe because of sport or whatever, is very, very endearing.
Right. Sport and just being sport and any kind of exercise also teaches you a lot of life lessons, right, Vidya?
Oh, yes.
Talk to us about how, it teaches you, some days you're in top form, some days, your body is probably not, top notch in that sense. Yes. What have you learned? What have the life lessons been? Why are you so addicted to it? Obviously, must be teaching you some, being on the road every day. You're putting yourself out there on the road, and how Chennai roads are. Yes. But being able to wake up in the morning, go there. Surely there must be some, I always think of the road as it's like a great metaphor for life, right? So what have your sort of life lessons been from, staying the course as far as...
I think the phrase you've used is absolutely right, staying the course. I think that's the important thing. And whatever you do, like the mindful story with thought we had earlier, you have to give your complete, like this morning when we were cycling, that's all we did. My mind was not thinking of anything else at all. Anything else. It was cycling, I was watching my speed, and the whole concept was the cycling. So whatever you do, it has to be that. It has to be that mind. If I'm swimming, I'm concentrating on the swimming. I do a mile swimming, 64 lengths of the club pool. And throughout that time, it's very meditative actually. Yeah. A lot of these things are meditative. You don't have to sit in a Padmasana and meditate, not at all. That drives me crazy. I can't do it at all.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I can't do it. I think exercise for me is like a meditation.
It's meditative, yeah.
A completely meditative quality.
Absolutely.
Even when you're trekking in the mountains, it's not like when I was with Badri and Krish, it's not like we're all together. They are super trekkers, and they are so much younger than me also, and are trekking I have somebody walking with me, and I keep my own pace. So most days you're walking alone with your own thoughts passing through your mind, and you're looking around, you're experiencing everything. You're not distracted by anything. You're experiencing the rocks on the ground, the pebbles, the stones, the mountains, the eagle flying overhead. The shadow of the eagle falling on the mountains. There's so much to experience. The clouds, when the clouds go over and it's a sunny day, the big, huge white clouds, you can actually see the shadow of the cloud passing. All of these to me is you have to experience. It's experiential. You have to experience it. So I feel for me, that's my meditation.
Right. Vidya, I'm just going to ask you a couple of more questions. One is, I've been having in the Sustenance series a lot of conversations about the role of sleep. And more people are talking to me about what is your sleep routine like? And is it something that you've sort of, kind of followed right from when you were young, or is it something?
I've not really had too many problems with sleep, except 1 or 2 times in the down period. But otherwise, I go to bed around 11 and knock off pretty soon. And I'm an early riser since childhood. I've always been, so I can't change. So 6:15 up and above. So that sleep pattern. I think I'm happy if I get 6 hours sleep. Sound sleep, that's more than enough. I think it revives you. You need sleep. You need sound sleep. So because that's what's going to revive your body and rebuild, rejuvenate. Whatever you've burnt during the day of exercise, and your mind needs rejuvenating. All of this.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Vidya, finally, just talk to us a little bit about Samyog. And, I'm sure, Rekha, and you're probably talking about what's the future like, right? Because it's going to take some time for us to get back to physical events and stuff. So talk to us a little bit about Samyog and, how that journey has been like.
See, Rekha and I started the company about 16 years ago. And in fact, after it was very cute and funny. And when we started the company, we got our company together, got the account, got the deed, everything done. Then we said, now what do we do for business? We had no idea how to go about getting some. Unfortunately for us, one of our very dear friends gave us her husband's birthday. Then Jayanti Natraj gave me her father's 80th birthday. So friends came forward and helped us.
Yeah.
And we got on our way then. And it's been a wonderful journey for both Rekha and me. I think we've worked really hard. We are very committed to what we do and very focused on weddings. And I think quality for us has been uppermost in the way we work. Always delivering something which is of the top quality. What we say we deliver. And the wonderful thing in our work has been that so many of our clients have become dear friends of ours. And you know, we've had some lot, which is a great endorsement for us. Like, you know, clients come back to us for the next daughter or for the son. You know, so in fact, we have one client we did both the daughter and the son's wedding and the father's 60th birthday. So, so it's a wonderful journey it's been. The trying time, Akila, is now because we had events for March, April, June, and July. They haven't cancelled the events, but indefinitely
we don't know, right?
We don't know when they're going to start, when things will open up enough to start. All the planning had been done, everything was in place, and just suddenly it just kind of because of this corona. I mean,
also it also teaches us lessons on the fragility of life, right?
Absolutely, the fragility of life and how something can change literally overnight. You know, it does change. There's no doubt about it. So we have to learn to live with it and learn to see how we can change our way of working. Our main concern more than ourselves is, of course, we are also suffering without work and frustrated. But what about our boys who work with us? You know, the flower boys, the carpenters, the drapers, the people who put up our sets, our lighting engineers, they're all without work across the board.
So it's crazy,
in fact, some of our flower boys are Bengalis and they've gone back
home, right?
Because they have to pay to stay here, otherwise. They have a kind of a dormitory where they stay. So the whole lot have packed up and gone back because it's easier for them to be with their
to be home, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I think everybody's also sort of, this lockdown is also, we've sort of discovered our own relationship with our homes, right?
Yes.
I think this period has also been a lot about that.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I'm very content within my home. I've not felt frustrated. I've not felt like, get me out of here, I want to go somewhere. Not at all, except for traveling. But other than that, during the whole day, 4 months, I've been pretty content making myself busy doing something or the other every day, some little project, some this, some that.
Yeah, keeping your mind engaged, right? Yeah.
Keeping your mind engaged. Talk to my mother every day. So she's also an amazing person because she's 88 years old and still she lives on her farm and she's still actively farming. She goes for a morning walk every day. So she's an extraordinary lady and a great role model for my family and my family. Completely a role model. So
we would have loved to have her and you on this show, Vidya. That would have been fantastic.
Lovely too, lovely. And she was an athlete. She was a very, very good tennis player. Used to run 5 miles in the morning and play tennis in the evening in her days. So both of them were very fit, both my parents.
Yeah.
Very proud.
Yeah, finally, I'm just going to ask you to, if there's one thing that you want to give as a shout out to people to sort of endure this very trying time and also like enjoy it and remain positive. What is the one piece of advice that you'd like to give everyone?
I would say, put your mind into something. Don't just be an idle mind thinking that, oh, today what can I do? Make something, a project for yourself to do, work on it and exercise.
Have a goal.
And have a goal and exercise every day. You're immediately all the endorphins go through your body. Your mood will be uplifted and you will feel better. It's a proven physiological thing that happens when you exercise.
Absolutely.
To do with the endorphins. So the minute you exercise, you immediately feel. Why do you think there are so many people who go for walks? Elderly people also who go for walks every day because that's what gives them that feeling of upliftment. So I think that's one thing I would tell everyone. Just put your mind, do something every day. Do something positive every day. Clean your cupboards. Do something.
Yeah,
You have to,
for sure. Yeah.
it could be anything. I'm not saying everyone should sit and write a book or something, but just whatever you do it mindfully.
Yeah.
Whatever you do. And exercise. Everyone should exercise.
Okay, I hope everyone's listening to this. Yeah, there are just about 2 to 3 questions from the audience. Okay. One is, Sujata Mundra was like, love your fitness regimen. Like, what's your diet? Could you just quickly take us through your diet?
It's a very simple diet because I eat a lot of fruit, a lot of nuts and seeds and oats in the morning. And in the afternoon, I might do a soup and a sandwich, cheese, lettuce, tomato. I eat a lot of cheese. I love bread, so I eat a lot of bread. So I don't diet. I've never dieted. I don't diet at all. I believe in eating healthy, all the meals, because your body needs the nutrition that it gets from the food.
Right.
So I don't really, I believe eat less. Don't munch on unnecessary things. I don't have sugar in any form. I don't eat desserts or chocolates or any of that. And dinner again is a simple meal. Tonight I'm having a tortilla with avocado guacamole in it. That's my dinner tonight.
That sounds yum.
It is yum.
One can't even say I'll come over or something like that.
You're welcome to. So it's basically simplicity in your food. Not too much oil, not too much of spice, not any of those things. Just simplify your food, but quality food and quantity.
Right. For sure. Yeah. And mindful eating.
Yes, mindful eating too.
Right. Vidya, Srimati Mohan would like to know about your chiffons and pearls that you're normally sort of,
That's one of my precious things that I own.
Yeah.
Beautiful French chiffons, which I love. And my mother collected them for me when she was making the trousseau at the time of marriage in the early 70s. So I do have a lovely collection of chiffon. And pearls are my top favorite of anything to wear would be pearls. Whether it's blue jeans and a t-shirt or a sari or anything.
Yeah, I remember like white shirt and blue jeans. Yeah.
Yes, with pearls, you can't go wrong with that. It's such a classic look. You don't need to, nowadays people wear gigantic necklaces, gigantic things. You don't need that. And like I said on another forum, look at Gayatri Devi. She was an icon. And what did she wear? A little pair of earrings and a beautiful string of pearls. You don't need more than that.
Right. Yeah.
Beauty comes from something else.
Yeah. There's a question from Uma Muthuswamy, and she'd like to know, how do you see the wedding scene in the future? Is the big fat Indian wedding really a thing of the past?
I hope that the big fat wedding comes back, to be honest. I mean, people need to enjoy their lives and their weddings, because this is a special day for the bride. It's her dream day, and we don't want to deprive them. But till the coronavirus goes away at some point of time, I'm presuming it will be gone
right, yeah.
So. After that, I think things will come back to normal. But till then, we have to do the downsized weddings and 50 people, 60 people, that sort of thing. But whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you guys will also figure out ways of making the small really beautiful as well, right?
Yes,
everything
small and beautiful. Exactly, small and beautiful, and just because at the end of the day, bride has to be happy, and this is her special day. Yeah. So you can't deprive her of that pleasure.
That pleasure, yeah, beautiful.
But I hope next year, by the middle of next year, we'll be back to normal and on our way doing the
I'm sure it's a thing of the past.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah, thank you, Vidya. I really appreciate you taking time off and regaling us with so many beautiful stories, and also inspiring us to really think about all these fantastic things that you shared, because I think it's never too late to start a habit. So even if we
never,
right?
Yeah, absolutely, never too late. And when you say when shall I start exercising, I would say today or tomorrow morning. What are you waiting for? Get out there in the morning and go for your walk, go do a run, whatever you want, go bicycling, go swimming. So no swimming now. You can't get in a pool, but anything else is good. I feel, why wait? Tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but the thing that I love the most, Vidya, that I'm going to take away is that how you like journal your travel like every day. Yes. And I think that's so beautiful. And I'm going to definitely try and make that a habit going forward, because I feel like, I'm not a big, I don't take too many photographs, and I like to kind of preserve it in my just mind's eye or something. But sometimes, memory is like such a strange thing, right? Sometimes it's fading and it's going away. And even if you want to kind of, there's also no time to actually sit down and, you need to have time to kind of, be able to remember and recall. And I think like journalists, such a great
also,
way.
Akila, in the old days, we used to do albums. We'd print the photos up and stick them in the albums. And now there's no such thing exists. It's only in your phone or in your camera memory. And otherwise, that's gone. You won't remember anything. You look at it a year later and you think, oh, where was this? Where was this? Whereas if you document everything every day, like you should see my book with on the trek with Badri and T.M. Krishna. It's called On the Edge of Eternity and Ladakh. And the amazing photographs that Badri has taken, because he brought a proper camera. He was carrying this huge camera around. I mean, if you look at those mountains, I'm just looking at the photographs and I'm getting overwhelmed. Did we really do all this? Because there's a picture of this gigantic mountains on the two sides, and we're walking in a ravine in the middle of this two mountains, and his photography was something unbelievable. So photographs are wonderful, but your writing is what's going to keep the memory in your head.
No, that's great. Also because it also resonates with me, because just a couple of days ago, the Aalaap account was hacked into. So, one realizes that the digital world is also so like fragile.
It's fragile. Right? It's very fragile.
Yeah. So keeping a little journal is something so precious. And so thank you for that little story. I'm sure like many people are going to be inspired by it. And I hope that we are going to be able to meet at Anokhi soon and have a cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee, that I'm waiting for.
Me too.
to go somewhere and have a coffee, sit and have a coffee with someone.
And shop at Anokhi and just, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who joined this conversation. It was
Thank
great.
You for having me. Thank you for having me over on your
The pleasure and privilege is all ours. Bye-bye, Vidya. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Subiksha. Bye.